Hello, how are you? My name is Vanessa Ortali. I am the founder of the Ladies Community and Heart and Mind Talks. And today I am bringing to you another amazing interview for our summit, The One. And the theme of this interview is one with purpose, one with self, and one with others. And I thought it would be really great to bring to you my lawyer, Ashlee Froese of Froese Law, who works with tons of businesses, influencers, celebrities to help them protect themselves when they have a purpose, and they now start expanding their purpose, creating a business and impacting others. Because when you're working with others, it's so important for you to have the knowledge to protect yourself. So Ashlee, thank you for bringing this diverse conversation to this summit so that people can really start thinking logically about their business and their purpose and how to make it a company.
Amazing. Thank you. It's exciting.
Yeah. Awesome. So tell us a little bit about, so if you don't know Ashlee, check her out, but Ashlee is determined to do law differently. And that's why I love chatting with Ashlee and seeing what she's building with Froese Law. So can you tell us a little bit more about how you're looking to disrupt the law industry and what you're doing for people?
For sure. So basically, I've been practicing I have an itchy nose. How inopportune time is that? I've been practicing law for 13, 14 years or so. The first 10 years I was on Bay Street, fast track to partner in 6 years, blah, blah, blah. And then I started to I think it's a fantastic platform from which to develop your skills and really hone, how to be a lawyer, because law school doesn't teach you that. But I found that it was just very hierarchical, very old school. And I realized 2.5 years ago that I had good skill set, knowledge, client base, and chutzpah, wherewithal to launch my own firm. So I launched my firm 2.5 years ago, and it was really a desire to tear down the ivory tower construct, to enable lawyers to be themselves and practice Bay Street caliber legal services without the bullshit that goes with it. And so the firm is really much more industry focused on B2C businesses, business to consumer businesses that are dope, hype, shaping pop culture, that are rooted in creativity, entrepreneurship, and that are consumer facing, so branded products, services, talent. That's kind of the jam that I'm doing. And I wanted to position the firm to be an ally to our client's success, as opposed to that kind of hierarchical shit. I gotta call my lawyer, it's gonna cost, this amount, and I gotta, hang up the phone at the 6-minute increment. And, I just think that there's a different way to practice law in a way that you're actually helping your clients be on their trajectory for success, rather than being a sort of naysayer or, a different kind of lawyer-client relationship. And I think also, to be honest with you, law is very old school, and it's hard for women to stay in law. And so I wanted to create a law firm where we can all be ourselves, and we don't have to be drones that are in black suits, pantsuits, trying to be the old white guy in order to be successful. So you'll see me some days wearing ripped jeans and some days wearing feathers,
She does.
And all of that. But that doesn't impact my knowledge and my skill set.
Yeah, what I love about what you did is you saw something that wasn't working, so you changed it. And I think that lots of entrepreneurs can relate to that. What have been some of your challenges in building your own practice and also working in a male-dominated industry?
To be honest with you, I get that question a lot. And I'm like, I think maybe it's a mindset, because I don't see it as challenges. I just see it as a journey to growth and success. And so, I'm not great at accounting. I got an accountant. I'm not great at social media, doing the right hashtag. So I got an intern to help me with that. So I think that it's not really challenges, because if you're not coming across things that's making you pivot or learn new things, you're not growing.
Yeah.
So I just kind of see it as it's all on this trajectory to becoming a better, more like enhanced person. Do you know what I
Yeah,
mean?
100%. And I love that you said that because it shows how, number one, you aren't afraid to take action, even if you don't know. And we talk about all the time imperfect action. Like you're not going to know everything. You're going to have to continue learning, but it shouldn't stop you from moving forward. And you
Well, no,
really,
my, but well, because my skill set, I need to know the law. That I
yeah,
won't mess up. Like I won't mess with that. That's my skill set. That's my job. But I don't need to know how to do bookkeeping in order to run the business because there's professionals for that, which is
yeah,
also kind of what I tell my clients too. You might be the best seamstress and designer, but you don't need to know how to do the incorporation, outsource that stuff. You
yeah,
know, like for sure there were challenges being a Bay Street lawyer as a female. Like it's not like I was rife with, sexual assaults all the time, but for sure being blonde and, dressing not super standard, for sure you come into that stuff. But I always thought it's not really relevant. That's background noise and it's not relevant to me because that's just their issue. You know what I
yeah,
mean? I was just kind of like, okay, be a douchebag. Cool. Do
yeah.
you, you
Did you
know?
also feel like being a woman, you could use to your advantage because you're naturally going to stand out in a room? So you can kind of stand out and build connections in that way. I think there's just both sides of it. Some people might get frustrated and others might look at it as an opportunity.
I mean, for sure I was sort of that people would call me the legally blonde and all, oh, look, it's Elle Woods or whatever. And I'd just be like, cool, underestimate me. That's on you. Go for it. And then I do it, like I fast tracked partner in 6 years. So I was like, okay, you know, make me seem one way when in actual fact, look at my resume, U of T, Oscar, blah, 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 blah. So yeah, but what I do like since leaving Bay Street is I do a lot of business with women and, the ladies community. And it's so interesting because, now I'm a certified women-owned business, which I wasn't able to be that on Bay Street because it's, that's not the landscape. I love dealing with other women businesses because it's so much more relationship driven than transactional. It's a different way to do business and it's very fulfilling. Like you and I meet for drinks, whenever you're in town, and I love it. And it's got nothing to do with the actual business that we're negotiating this. You know what I mean? Like
Yeah.
it's a pleasure.
Yeah. And that I think also goes to show how you've done business differently. And I think just hearing you talk, and this is why I always love chatting with you and bringing you into the community, is because you are such a role model for women who are living in their fear, really, because you see it, but then you don't let it consume you. You're like, yep, it is that, but I'm moving forward. And your
Right.
mindset and the way you're able to shift out of that is courageous and strong. And I love that about you.
I mean, it's not all the time.
Yeah.
I have little freakouts.
I appreciate you saying that it isn't like that all the time. What can you share with the women to make that it really relatable as to what are you currently insecure about and what kind of throws you out of that confidence that you show us so well?
Well, I mean, I'm like, I'm 40, single without kids. I'm like, oh shit, that's a pickle. I'm definitely bigger than I used to be. But then I'm like, I was an anorexic 20-year-old self. I'm 40, it's
Mm.
not gonna happen. So like, I look at myself, I'm like, ooh, I got big old thunder thighs and am I lovable?
And it's so amazing when you talk and you share that. Thank you. Because when we see you, we never see that. And so I love having these conversations because I think it's just so important to tear down those walls so that other women know, like, hey, Ashlee's seemingly every day, like pulling her shit together, making this business happen, and she still has fears. you know?
Of course,
Yeah.
it's human, no? But
Yeah.
like in terms of business, like I left Bay Street as a partner to start my own thing. And it's like, shit, like, is this the right decision or whatever? But I think in terms of that, because I know my work ethic, I know my skill set, that to me is just, I believe in myself because I know I don't cut corners. I don't fuck around with what I do that's important. So, and then in terms of the personal side, like I got to be okay with not being 20, having a 20-year-old body. That's okay. I'm curvy. Thank God for Beyonce and J Lo. Like, and the love thing. Okay, I made bad decisions in the past, and now I'm learning from that. I have this mentality that you don't win or lose, you win or learn. So I learned something about myself, and there's a silver lining in everything. So
Yeah. Yeah,
that's my
that's
J.
so perfect. Yeah, that's perfect. Do you think that as an entrepreneur, and I think this all the time, do you think we sacrifice our relationships and children for our job?
I don't know.
Yeah. I mean, I don't know. I think about that now too because I see all my friends that have gotten married and had kids and I'm thinking I'm just so focused on my job right now and it's my child and I don't know that I could bring a kid into this because I'm still so focused on my work. I don't know. It's just this like thing that happens in my head.
I don't know because I have a lot of friends that that are entrepreneurs that have kids, that are married, and all of that stuff. I mean, and I don't really judge or critique other people's because it's so personal. I mean, I think I
Yeah.
just, you know, was in relationships with the wrong people for too long. And I've learned that lesson. I'm not doing that anymore. And also, I think for me, to be honest with you, the whole kid thing, I wasn't driven by having kids. Like when I was young, and my mom was. I was 8 years old. My mom was putting me to bed. She's like, do you think about your life when you're older? I was like, oh yeah, you'll be wearing, suit, short skirt, heels, briefcase in the big city, working in the big towers, driving a Beamer. That was like a big thing. I don't know why. Very overpriced, had it, returned it. I was like, this is crazy. But I never saw white picket fence, never saw like the tradition. I
Yeah.
guess I just always kind of saw this yuppie kind of lifestyle. And sometimes I think like, shit, am I missing out? Because I'm actually like quite a maternal person. So I was like, my life is good. Like other people would, not to sound like a douchebag, but they would covet to have this kind of lifestyle and the freedom that comes with it. So I don't know. I just kind of figure now things happen when they happen and you be open and receptive, but focusing on the positives in your life instead of the negatives will make you a lot more happier in the present.
Yeah, and it just comes back to a mindset thing because you can't necessarily have it all and live 10 lives. So you kind of just have to decide what life do you want to live in this life.
Right. And
Yeah.
make the best of what it is you're doing. Like, I don't know. God, this is personal. I don't normally
Yeah.
get personal.
Thanks, Ashley. Love this. No, it's true. And I think just having these types of conversations are important because people don't talk about them. And then people are sitting at home thinking like, crap, I feel this way and nobody else does. I want to
Right.
break down those walls so people know they're not different and
Yeah.
giving them that confidence, right? Because we all have thoughts. And yesterday we had a great chat too about like the darkness in you and what that looks like. And it was really cool and powerful. So thanks for
Uh,
being so vulnerable. Yeah.
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 Not come naturally to me.
It's good. So it sounds as though how you envisioned your life and how you envisioned your purpose is very true to what
Yeah.
you decided to
Yeah.
pursue. When other people have really dialed into their purpose with their business, let's get into some of this law stuff.
Yeah.
How does the law incorporate into all of that and making someone's dream a reality?
Yeah. So I think like with a purpose thing, I was blessed to have purpose from a very early age and have an almost singular direction, which took away a lot of the background noise. Like I knew I wanted to go to university. I knew I wanted to go to law school. I knew I needed to get my resume. Like I was purpose driven from a very, like I worked at McDonald's in high school. I was like, this is not good enough for me to get into law school. I was thinking that at 16, like that's crazy. So, you know, what my purpose is, what I've realized now is to help people achieve their goals, achieve their dreams. And it sounds so cheesy, but basically you come to me and you've got this idea. I can help you structure your business, negotiate your contracts, protect your, intellectual ingenuity, your creative assets, so that you can continue to be the better version that you were last year or the year before. So, incorporating your business, well, there's real life. The law is applicable to everything that you do, and especially when you're starting a business, because you're dealing with so many third parties. So as soon as you take an idea out of your head and you put it down in a tangible form and you share it with this person, oh, I'm thinking about this business concept, automatically there's an opportunity for someone to rip you off. Unfortunately, for lawyers, we're trained to think worst case scenario and to structure and strategize for people in the event that shit goes wrong. So, if, for example, and I've got clients that are mothers who were in the workforce, took a couple of years out because they wanted to raise kids. Now they're going back in, they've had a bit of a gap, and they're like, I want to go back to doing that 9 to 5. I've got this idea. I want to, see if it's got legs or, something like that. Well, if they've got personal assets, little RSPs, a car, maybe they're co-owner on the house. Well, if they start the business and there's some kind of liability, if they don't incorporate, that's up for grabs as a personal asset if they're operating as a sole proprietor. So automatically I'm like, okay, what's your life situation? Let's structure this so that you're creating a separation between you and your personal assets, and your corporate entity is a separate legal entity from you. That's foundational. You're starting to disclose, sort of be like, hey, I've got this idea. What do you think? Anyone can rip you off. Let's get a non-disclosure agreement to make sure that they're contractually bound to not take your idea and steal it. Now you're like, you know what? I've got someone that I'm going to help me build the website or create the logo or to create whatever small component. Okay, that's a third party that you want to make sure that there's performance obligations, payment obligations, termination provisions. What if they're shitty or they're not doing the right thing? Or what if they start to say, you know what, I actually own this because I created this as a independent contractor. You want to have an agreement that's going to stipulate that business relationship. You're starting to go to the market. You have trademark protection, copyright protection. You got a tech pack for your designs that you're going to ship out to your manufacturing company. You want to make sure that the tech pack is protected, and there's a manufacturing agreement that will make sure that they do deliverables, that there's product liability, there's warranty. You want to make sure that they're abiding by global human rights legislation. There's all of these kinds of things that law is not intuitive, but it's going to be applicable to everything that you do. And trust me, if you deal with it ahead of time, it's going to be a lot cheaper and easier than if you deal with it when the shit hits the fan. Because unfortunately, life is not seamless and shit goes wrong and people are selfish or sleazy or scammy. So addressing these things ahead of time, it helps you position yourself for success, because instead of doing this pinky swear, he said he was going to do this, he said he was going to do that. No, breach of contract, here's the provisions, blah, blah, blah. Do you know what I mean?
This counts 100%. This counts with family too. I know we've talked about this before.
Yeah.
And even if you're working with family, it also goes both ways. If it goes bad, it's good to have contracts. If it goes really well, it's also good to have contracts, because you can see when money gets involved, how people act.
Oh yeah, for sure. And sometimes also with family, because it's that much more personal, it gets that much more volatile. So for sure, having shareholders agreements, like what happens if you're husband and wife and you guys have been, trucking along on this co-business, but now all of a sudden, the relationship isn't doing well and you're fighting over, you know, the house, the kids, the RSPs, and now the business as well. So it's all, the law is constructed to help you and to basically protect you against bad things happening. And working with a lawyer that understands that, it's going to position you for success, for sure.
What are some important questions to ask lawyers to know if they're going to be in your, if they're going to work in your best interest and if they're right for you?
I think industry knowledge is helpful. Obviously, you want to know if they have uh, uh, like the skill set and the actual legal knowledge. I think that's important. I think definitely a relevant question is figuring out what is their fee scenario. What are they charging hourly rates? What is included in that? Some law firms will charge you for printed paper at $1 a page, for example. So for us, we don't charge for paper. We don't charge where we can. We try and do a flat rate so you know exactly what you're getting in for. So I think that it's important to understand the business relationship of how you guys are going to work together. And I think also, to a certain extent, there's sort of a relationship drive to it. Do you like the person? Do you want to deal with them? Do they get you? Do they understand, A, your business, how you think, your appetite for risk, or how aggressive you want to be? And do they mirror that as well? So I don't know, and we've talked about this before, and I've talked about this with when I've spoken at the ladies community events. I'm a strong believer that you want to have a board of directors of life. For me, I don't make decisions without a couple of key people being a part of it. A couple of friends who I really respect their opinion, you know, high flyer, savvy women. My parents, like, I like them to be on board generally, but they generally are. And then I have my financial planner, I have my accountant, I'm my own lawyer. So I think that making that board of directors and who's important to you and what are the gaps in your knowledge and who should be filling that, I think that's important.
Yeah.
So I
You
think the
taught me
skills,
that and it's been a life changer.
doesn't it change
Yeah.
everything?
Yeah.
Yeah. And
Yeah.
it's a long-term thing. Like my financial planner, my banker, my accountant, they're riding with me for life. And so they understand the ebbs and flows. There's not a lost in translation because they know how I like to do business. They know that I want a response, you know, within a few hours. They know that I have anxiety about this, like I'm debt averse. They understand all of these things about me. And so it just makes things more streamlined.
What are some other things? I know you had a really great blog that you put out this year of the goals that and
Yeah.
elements in their business that people should look at. What are some areas that people can look at for growth? I know on there is expansion and scaling. What other elements are in there that are great questions for people to reflect on as they grow their business?
Yeah. So, I mean, what I do when I remember how we talked about tearing down the ivory tower construct. So, one of the things that I want to do is law is relevant to everything you do, but it's not intuitive, right? No one's like, oh shit, let's talk about shareholders agreements today. People don't do that, like, unless they're like super nerdy. They don't do that. So what I try and do every week is, and sometimes it's every fucking week, you know, and I try and write articles that provide updates on the law or just ideas of what you should be thinking about that's applicable to you. And I write it in a way that's not too ipso facto, heretofore lawyerly, and it's, you know, 500 words, easy kind of magazine script. One thing that I wrote back in December was basically setting your professional New Year's resolutions. Everyone talks about their personal goals, you know, for the New Year's. No one ever talks about their professional New Year's resolution. And so what I did is I went through and I wrote this article based on the different trajectory that I see my businesses at. Some, they've got an idea and they want to roll it out right now. Others are sort of, okay, I've had this side hustle for a couple of years. I see that there's traction and now I want to really go for it. Others are more advanced. And to that, it's sort of cleaning up shop a little bit. Like the first one is setting the strategy and setting the goals that we need to address. The other one is they've rolled it out for a while. Okay, maybe now we convert the sole proprietor to an incorporation and codify the business relationships that you have. But then it also, some are doing quite well in Canada and they're ready to go into the States. We have a US lawyer on staff, by the way, that can do that work. And so it's sort of, to some extent, Americanizing their business and making sure that their e-commerce platform takes into account California privacy laws that just came out in January, or securing their trademark protection. Or if they're really going for it, they might want to do a Delaware incorporation because it's easier to get a US bank and US insurance, for example. So that's another stage. Some are building out their team. So they've had a couple of independent contractors, but now they want to bring on that intern full-time as an employee, or they've got investors that are senior executives that they want to bring on as sort of shareholder equity type situation. And so they're ready to sort of build it out internally. Some are really looking to make a big push, and so they're really pushing their marketing, they're aligning with influencers, or they're doing more Facebook ads or competitions on Instagram or e-commerce, and they're ready to really sort of create more marketplace awareness, brand awareness. Some are at the point where they sort of feel comfortable and they're like, you know what, I want to think about, I've dealt with getting the company off the ground. It's sustainable. What does our brand mean? What does it stand for? Let's start to look at corporate social responsibility. So that, for example, they'd be looking at, do they want to become a B Corp certified? Or do they want to start to build out their policies for diversity or supplier diversity programs? Or in their manufacturing, do they want to make sure that there's, humanitarian or sustainable or eco-friendly supply chain management, and starting to build those into their commercial agreements as well. So I've just noticed that there's different stages and different concerns for clients. And so the article that I talked about, it kind of gives you a checklist of, have you thought about this? Have you thought about that? Blah, blah, blah.
Yeah, and I love how you laid it out, because it's helping people think a little bit differently when they're planning their strategy, even quarterly strategy of where are we going and what legal things do we need to implement to protect us moving into our next stage. So they're not just thinking revenue and business, they're also thinking about structure and organization and protection as well.
Yeah, because it's critical. Because the thing is I come across the hiccups all the time where people haven't addressed it. And it becomes really, my thing is that I'm more of a solicitor than I am a barrister. A barrister is the one that goes to court. I believe that litigation, in the end, it really only benefits lawyers because they can charge a lot of fucking money for this. It costs a lot. Litigation is a pay-to-play place. It can take 2 to 3 years. It's very expensive. So from my side as a solicitor, I'm trying to help you structure it so that you can avoid that, because if it's a clear breach of contract, well, they're not going to have a case to defend. So let's settle this now. So I think that that's kind of my mindset. And the thing is also, yes, it's expensive, but it's also time and money, resources, and brain power that you're taking away from building your business to deal with this dispute. It's a distraction.
Yeah.
So
and it takes that a lot of time for sure. Where, like you said before, and like you said before, you want to be doing the things that you're good at. You don't want to have to be worrying about going to court and going into those negotiations.
Totally.
Yeah. What are some of the biggest mistakes that you see? And I know you've kind of talked about them because that's how you built out this structure, but what are some of the biggest mistakes you see entrepreneurs and businesses making?
I think that there's a bit of a head in the sand thing going on. They don't understand the law, so they don't really address it. I think that I think that sometimes there's a cheapness too, like they don't want to spend the money, and I get that. That's why I try and do, like, I have startup packages and I do flat fee where it's appropriate to do. Um, I think also they don't think business minded. You know, I see a lot of people that are genius at what they do, but sometimes I think that there's different kinds of intelligence, and creative intelligence doesn't necessarily lend itself to book smart intelligence, or, you know, like numbers intelligence. So I think that sometimes they find it overwhelming and intimidating, and so they just kind of don't deal with it. I do see clients that self-represent, uh, and to be honest with you, the cleaning up the stuff is, you know, kind of challenging. And it ends up, I might as well just have done it from the beginning. It would have been better. So I think those are kind of the issues.
Yeah. And
I think also there's actually one thing, and I have a bit of a beef with women about that, is that statistically we don't assert for ourselves as much. And there's how many studies out there. And even last year, the federal government, they did a study on intellectual property protection, and they said that statistically women-owned businesses in Canada are the least likely to invest in their intellectual property or to create a strategy. Why? It doesn't make sense. And especially if you're in a B2C business, a business consumer business, where your creative ingenuity is your biggest asset, how are you going to get investments, or how are you going to think about selling your business in 10 years' time if you haven't invested in creating a monopoly over your most significant corporate asset?
yeah.
So it's things like that that I think that women need to self-assert, really kind of be a little bit more strategic and savvy.
Yeah, very cool. Do you find that women have specific questions and common questions when they come to you about the law?
No, it kind of depends. I think also because law is not intuitive, you know, when I work with businesses, they'll come to me for this reason, and I'll be like, okay, have you done this? Have you done this? Have you done this? Oh, no, I didn't think about that. Okay, here's why it's relevant. So that's why I have, if you go to my website, froselaw.com, and you go to the blog section, I've got articles that are, it's like, what's the difference between an IDA and an NDA? It's not intuitive. Why would you know that? You don't wake up thinking, oh, let's research non-disclosure agreements. But so I have all of these kind of articles to be like, okay, read this. This is going to answer your question and educate you, because it's going to come up time and again if you have your own business. And so it's really a tool to give you more knowledge, because knowledge is power.
Yeah. And I hope this
Look at me, I'm
conversation,
leaning
yeah,
in.
see, she's ready. But you can tell when you talk that your purpose is to genuinely help others. Because
Yeah.
when you're working with companies, you're really looking out for their best interest and how to set them up for success moving forward.
Yeah.
I hope
It's
this,
very rewarding. Sorry, it's
yeah,
very rewarding when I work with clients. Like I've got some clients that came to me in inception, and now they're getting featured in Vogue magazine, and it's just like, God damn, good for you.
so
Like,
cool.
and it's nice to be like you're part of that journey, but you saw them, and you saw them in the beginning when they were nervous and scared, and they were like, I don't know, I think I've got something good. And then 10 years later, you're like, God damn, you got something good. It's
That's
exciting.
awesome. Yeah.
Yeah.
And I hope this conversation has empowered people. And I love how you've laid it out, because I think even in the beginning of this discussion, when you talked about NDAs and contracts and trademark, I hope when you listen to this interview, you can think, oh, that might be right for me. Oh, I can see where I might be able to implement some more structure and legal protection for myself. And then when you were talking about the different areas of your business and growth within your business, building out those goals for yourself so that you incorporate the legal elements as you continue to grow and expand your purpose.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's awesome. Do you want to leave anything else with the listener that you feel we didn't touch on or that you really want to emphasize and bring home?
I know, not really. Like I kind of
Yeah.
talked a lot, but I think ultimately, I'm always down to meet with people, and I get very energized. I think especially now that I am an entrepreneur, like I always helped entrepreneurs, but now having my own business, I get it, and I get very invigorated by being around different entrepreneurs as well that are in whatever stage of their business. And I think it's kind of cool because I can meet with them and be like, okay, have you thought about this, thought this, or this? You could license this and merchandise this way. And it's very cool to sort of think about people's trajectories to success. So I think, I'm always down to meet with people, have a phone call and help. That's really what it is. I like helping people achieve their dreams.
Yeah, that's so awesome. So you can go check her out at Froese Law, and you're on Instagram. It's Froese
Yeah,
_law, correct?
that's fun. Yeah. Yeah.
Okay,
Yeah.
and then your website is froeslaw.com, and it's spelled Froese law. So there,
Ta-da!
if you're watching the video, you can see she has her logo behind her. And so go have a conversation. Information is power. And remember
Yeah.
to build that board of directors. So you don't have to know all of it. Just find a lawyer, reach out to Ashlee, find a lawyer that works for you in your business so that you don't have to worry about that. And you know that they're thinking about it for you, and you're protected as you move forward with your purpose so that you can truly impact others and create that life and that dream business that you really want.
Yeah.
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 Thanks so much for making the time to chat.
Thank
You're so
you.
giving with your time and information. And I love how you're always looking to empower women with that information as opposed to intimidate them, because,
Totally.
it makes it a lot easier for us to succeed. So thank you.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah, awesome. Alrighty, thanks for listening. I hope you have a great day and good luck with your business. You got this. Just like Ashlee says, like nothing else matters. Just move forward. Eye on the prize. Go out there and do it. Love you so
Get
much.
it.
Bye.
Bye.